Wow, that's an awfully big overlay in 800 by 600. Anyway, so I'm here. Force 2. Delta Force 1 was an excellent title, but Delta Force 2 I think was the first one I played. And that was around, I think 1999 or the year 2000, because it was about the year 2000 that I remember playing this multiplayer, 50-player games with a dial-up modem and very little lag. That's how awesome the netcode was in this game, at least the way I remember it. And then I got broadband. My father got it. I was living with my father at the time. We were a couple of gamers, tactical first-person shooter players. My dad really loved Rainbow Six and Rogue Spear, and I don't think he really... Oh, he got into one other title, and I think it was Conflict Desert Storm, or Operation Desert Storm, something like that. Anyway, so we got broadband, and then see if I can lower this music even more. And then the multiplayer was really awesome in broadband. But I'm going to show you this game and make some comments about it. I've seen other people posting videos of this and talking about how, you know, it doesn't really hold up, and but you can still see people playing this game in multiplayer, and it's because the gameplay was rock solid. And the graphics really aren't terrible. For one thing, well, I'll point it out in the game. Let's see, 6 of 1. And
a U-2 overflight has identified several mobile Scud launchers believed to contain nerve gas. These launchers pose a serious threat to neighboring troops and civilians. An airstrike is out of the question because of their location behind enemy lines. You are ordered to locate and destroy the Scud launchers. Bravo will insert south of the target area and destroy the launchers using satchel charges and artillery strikes. Artillery is limited, so choose your targets wisely. The area is heavily patrolled and the final target is inside the opposition's main base, so stealth will be required for success.
Fragmentation grenades, you have a choice of a delayed fuse or an impact grenade, which is pretty cool. I'd rather have a suppressed SOCOM than an unsuppressed if I had a choice. And I guess I'll use satchel charges this time. Maybe I'll take one law rocket with me instead. And hopefully I have enough ammo for that sniper rifle. And here we go. So I had to record a narration track for this because it turned off my voice recording for Game Bar when it went into the actual 3D environment. So one thing about this Delta Force series is that the view distance is infinite. they take a 3D topographical, is that topological? Anyway, topographical terrain, I guess, and they tile it infinitely. So it results in just a infinite view distance, which is pretty incredible, especially for its time. And as you can see, the topography of the terrain is pretty high definition. I mean, you've got micro terrain here, and that apparently was the power of voxels. When you get into later missions, you'll see the grass, and the grass the blades are of varying height, not a uniform height, and in multiplayer, the grass actually conceals. In multiplayer, the grass actually conceals enemy players. So that was another neat aspect of the game. As you can see, like, sniping is almost effortless. It's very easy to lead your target. The scope view pops up very easily. Maybe it wasn't so quick on older systems. Of course, right now I'm stuck in 800 by 600 resolution, and I remember playing this at higher resolution. And you hear those impacts of the shrapnel from the explosion? Yeah, you could get wounded by those. So you had to be careful with demolitions in this game. It's like they put a lot of thought into this game that doesn't go into more modern games that are so graphically pleasing. You hear that?
Bravo, this is King 6. Area secure, move on
One
to
of
the
the
next target.
fragments just whizzed right by my ear. So, even though I was prone on the ground. So, yeah, the first time I played this mission, that night, I had a dream that I was an actual Delta Force operator. So immersive was this game at the time. Heck, I might have another dream like that tonight. So this is cool. Look at this. You don't get this in some of the best games without modding or scripting. Laser designator.
This is King 6, requesting fire mission, over.
King 6, Whiskey 1, send your fire mission, over.
This is King 6, requesting fire mission, over.
King 6, Whiskey 1, send your fire mission, over.
Apparently I called in 2 fire missions. I'm not sure if I was even aware that it was possible to do that. I think because I moved the laser designator, and there I just fired a wall rocket. But it's so boring, there's so much walking. Where's my vehicle? I'm gonna hurt my poor virtual feet if I do too much walking. I have virtual bone spurs. You know, when you get out in the wilderness, it's like this. It's very quiet. This reminds me of a spot just past a tiny little shanty town at the time, back in the 80s anyway. called Livengood, and beyond that, there were places. I was standing on a hill, and I actually, look at that, ballistic penetration, round went through 2 bodies. Yeah, so when I was standing on that hill, I wondered whether anyone had ever set foot on the exact same spot I had. That's how unpopulated it was, and that was just an hour and a half out of Fairbanks, Alaska, one of the largest towns in the state of Alaska.
Target confirmed destroyed. Move out, Bravo.
Yeah, this is very different than Call of Duty Modern Warfare, where...
Bravo, this is King 6. The Scud is located south of the base.
Where you're getting hit from multiple directions at once. Makes your eye twitch. This game allows you to... it allows you to choose your approach. How are you going to approach the target, the objectives, complete your mission? I could have taken another route, probably. Of course, the designers, you know, they the terrain is probably set up so you have some effectively what are walls, maybe, but you'd be surprised. You can really go exploring in this game. And this is what we had for an expansive outdoor tactical shooter until Operation Flashpoint Cold War Crisis came along, which, you know, it's funny because the development of the tactical shooter genre, it was very condensed, should I say condensed or dense, or compressed in the years 1999, 2000, and 2001, because Operation Flashpoint Cold War Crisis was released in 2001, and it won UK PC Gamer, Action PC Game of the Year, if I remember correctly. And, you know, that's 2 years on the heels of Rainbow Six One on the PC. The genre grew surprisingly fast. But at the time, by the way, wind also affects the trajectory of your bullets in this game. Right now I have it set to random. Hear those rounds whizzing past my ears? There was no ballistic crack, but and see, there I was having a hard time spotting the guy through the kind of flaky looking windows. So eventually the AI will zero in on you.
Bravo, this is King 6. Intel confirmed several Scud sites in the area. Take them out. Bravo, watch for patrols along your route.
So we're going to do this again. Yeah, before,
Bravo, this is King 6. There's a patrol to the west along your route. Stay quiet and avoid contact.
before Operation Flashpoint, Cold War Crisis came out, the full version and not the public demo, I got into a multiplayer game of Delta Force 2 with a lady, an Orthodox Jewish mother who lived in Jerusalem, and I think she said she had at least 6 kids. But the Avon lady was famous in the Operation Flashpoint community because she created a sort of wiki resource for the game. But yeah, I played her in an adversarial game in Delta Force 2, and I was shooting law rockets at her from across a valley. And she says she was hurdling my law rockets. and so I was looking for her with binoculars or something, weapon sight maybe, and couldn't spot her. Well, then she had went around a valley and came up.
Bravo, this is King 6. Area secure. Move on to the
Came
next
up
target.
behind me and drove a K-bar into my back. So that established her reputation as a fierce competitor in Delta Force 2 to me. And I know she had that reputation with other players in the Delta Force 2 community.
This is King 6 requesting fire mission. Over.
King 6, Whiskey 1, send your fire mission. Over.
One of the things I love in this game in multiplayer are the King of the Hill and Team King of the Hill matches.
This is King 6 requesting fire mission. Over.
King 6, Whiskey 1, send your fire mission. Over.
Unfortunately, the bomb doesn't quite drop when that guy runs by the Scud. Look at that, changed his azimuth just as I shot. But the reason I love the King of the Hill and Team King of the Hill game types in multiplayer is that the zone actually has a percentage, so you have to get into the very center of the zone in order to get 100% of the points, like time amassed in the zone by either the individual player or the team. So it kind of like forces you to get out of cover or to decide where the best trade-off of a good position versus amassing. So the best trade-off between a good position and amassing time or points, being in the zone. Now that round looked like it splashed off the Scud, but then it still took out the bad guy. And I'm not sure how much ballistic penetration is in this game. I can't recall whether I could shoot through a tent wall or not. I'll have to test it out later on.
This is King 6, requesting fire mission, over.
King 6, Whiskey 1, send your fire mission, over.
So, Novalogic went on to make other Delta Force games. One installment was called Land Warrior, Delta Force Land Warrior. And it was very similar, well, it was inspired by the Land Warrior program that the Army was trying to implement at the time. Not sure what really became of Land Warrior. Basically, they decided that that was a really dangerous moment there. I think basically they decided that the Land Warrior system prototype at the time was too bulky, too heavy. And I think the OICW, the Objective Individual Objective, it was called the Objective Individual Combat Weapon, I think. I think it was in Delta Force Land Warrior, but it, and sorry for the whisker words, I've got to improve my communication skills. Anyway, it was in Delta Force Land Warrior, but it didn't function exactly. It didn't function exactly the way it was supposed to. Did you see that? The Law, I fired it into the doorway, and the concussion blew the windows outwards on both sides of the tower. I mean, details like that in a game of this one's age is still incredible to me. But you get these guys trying these games out, and they maybe grew up on newer games, and then they give these a try, and then they constantly make insults about the graphics and laugh about little physics problems or whatever, and have no appreciation for just how much work and ingenuity went into some of these older games. I could play this game, both single player and multiplayer, and be completely happy.
This is King 6, requesting fire mission, over.
King 6, Whiskey 1, send your fire mission, over.
Novalogic also had another installment called Black Hawk Down. But I wasn't really crazy about the Black Hawk Down game by Novalogic. I don't know what it was. There were parts of the missions that seemed like they were ridiculously hard to get past. And even the multiplayer, I didn't like it. I spent more time in Novalogic's later game called Joint Operations, and then there was another, not a DLC, but an expansion called Joint Operations Escalation, and I had a lot more fun in Joint Operations than I did in Black Hawk Down. For one, flying the little bird in Joint Operations Escalation was a lot of fun. I would ferry players back and forth from the respawn to the objective and make these landings in these hot LZs where I'm taking fire from players on the ground, and the players would hop off the bench and I'd lift off and head back to the respawn to pick up the next player, and evading fire the whole time, having to fly evasively. It was a lot of fun. So here I realized that I had left a scud behind on my way in. And now I begin to wonder whether I have enough, after I take care of this radio tower, then I begin to wonder whether I have enough destructive inventory left to get rid of the scud. But first I want to take out this Humvee.
This is King 6, requesting fire mission, over.
King 6, Whiskey 1. Request denied. No fire support available. Your target.
Why Russians have a Humvee, I don't know. But it wasn't a big deal.
This is King 6, requesting fire mission, over.
King 6, Whiskey 1. Request denied. No fire support available. Your target.
So what am I gonna do? I've got one frag grenade left. Or so I thought. No satchels, or so I thought. I'm not sure about the ammo count in this game, because it says I have one. There's one. There's two.
Bravo, this is King 6. That's all of them. Good work.
So, this is one of the retro titles that I'm able to get going on in Windows 10 without a whole lot of problems. The only thing is it's got this low resolution. So I apologize for that. I'm sure there's a way to figure out how to enable higher resolutions in the game. I just